Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to day 45 of the Chronological Read Through the Bible. Today we come to the end of the book of Exodus, and we'll have a little bit out of the book of Numbers. So today's commentary covers Exodus chapter 39, starting in verse 32, through Exodus 40, and we're going to also have read Numbers chapter 9 verses 15 through 23. Now, you're about to see this happen a little bit more in the daily readings of what has been occurring as far as mixing different books of the Bible together or different chapters out of those books together. And this is because those were events that overlapped in the scriptures. And so in the process of us having our chronological read, these overlapping chapters and books are going to be together. So I just wanted to explain that a little bit. Today's commentary is not very long. I touched on this just a little bit yesterday, as far as that Moses now comes in and is setting up the tabernacle. Now, it really doesn't tell us that somebody else was assisting Moses. They had to be moving these elements around, you would think. But it really gives us the picture of like Moses is the one in there tidying up and putting everything in its place as he had been shown to do by the Lord. So that is repeated over and over again, as the Lord showed him, as the Lord showed him. But it's to remind us that this is not just Moses' idea. This is directly from the Lord. This is the image or the picture of what the Lord has shown to Moses. So it just really carries this holy sense to it. And a thing that strikes me each time I read this part is it's as if Moses is the one having to organize these things, because Aaron, who is Moses' brother and is being ordained as the high priest, he nor his sons really have gone through their cleansing or consecration yet for service in the tabernacle. So when did Moses go through something like this? And I would say it was God himself who ordained Moses for that task and cleansed Moses for that task, probably when Moses was on the mountain. Once everything is in place in the tabernacle, and I just wanted to read this, and I'm going to start in verse 33 of chapter 40 of Exodus. He erected the court all around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung up the veil for the gateway of the court. Thus Moses finished all his work. This is sort of like the tabernacle's in the center, and now on the outer perimeter outside is almost this fence, though it's curtains hanging around. So all of this, that's the culmination of the end. And then in verse 34, then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses was not able to enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Now, you likely have heard when it speaks of this cloud, this glory of the Lord, whether it's the pillar of smoke or the pillar of fire, you've likely heard it referred to as the Shekinah glory of the Lord. Where that is accurate, it's not accurate from this standpoint, in that that term never appears in Scripture. The concept is there, but the term does not appear in Scripture. And that the Shekinah is and I don't have the exact true pronunciation down, but that's what most Americans at least know it by, the Shekinah glory. Shekinah is probably somewhat closer, a little closer maybe. In that's actually an Aramaic word and is not Hebrew and not Greek. So it would not have been a term that the Hebrews would have used at that point. It actually comes from when the Hebrews were in exile, and it came from the Chaldeans. So just so you have that frame of reference, and that you know that it is not really a term from Scripture, but it's the concept there. And then in verse 36, throughout all their journeys, wherever the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the sons of Israel would set out. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not set out until the day when it was taken up. For throughout all their journeys, the cloud of the Lord was on the tabernacle by day, and there was fire in it by night, in the sight of all of Israel. That had to be an amazing sight to see, that here was this pillar of smoke during the day, and at night a pillar of fire, probably like a little night light or a street light, giving off light throughout the camp. Also had to be terrifying to the enemy as well. And then you can just picture all of a sudden the smoke starts to lift and move just a little bit, probably ever so slowly, enough speed so that the Hebrews could start wrapping up their tents and preparing to move in whatever direction the Shekinah glory, or the pillar of smoke, or the pillar of fire led them. To me, that had to be one of the most just awesome sights to see in that time. Well, brothers and sisters, I do hope that you're doing well. Until tomorrow, God bless.